talk about that, but um, I'm just giving you feedback from a person who took it point of view right now, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, whatever makes sense. I mean, I'm just kind of I want to hear it all. The good and the bad. I mean, I guess I was planning on. I have some questions written down, but I guess just to start with, like,
Yeah, go ahead.
kind of get your overall sort of feel about it would be great. I mean, you have a very unique perspective on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it took me a couple of weeks before, like that very first week, it felt like there were so many assignments in the beginning.
Yep.
But once we got past that, it was good. I mean, I think that we all need that push to like force ourselves to do things, and it's just like enters your calendar and you can just tell people I have to do this project for Art of Freelance, and just having an actual name to the class, and that was all really helpful. There's some weeks where everyone was like, oh, we didn't get anything done, but just I think commiserating, even that alone was still helpful.
Hmm.
So I don't know, I found it all really positive. um, I felt like our cohort was really tiny. Was was it one of the smallest ones, or?
There was only one cohort that kept the original eight. We tried to get each cohort to have eight people in it to start with, and then immediately, and it was a bit of a bummer because it was like friends basically. They were like, "Yeah, yeah, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it," and then immediately didn't even
uh,
like start doing it, and so that kind of messed up the equilibrium of some of the cohorts because we just
I
wouldn't have planned on having them in it. We would have,
mm,
organized it differently.
less cohorts.
But it was like, I mean, friends that were like, yeah, 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 no. So yeah, so I mean, yours I think had like six. I mean, I think it started with eight, but then I think there was like two immediate drops, and then there was just, you had a couple of people that just never quite got it going. Um, Another cohort had five from the very beginning, and then had one person drop out, so that one ended up at four.
Mm,
Another cohort had eight at the beginning and a few drops, and that one ended up like their very final check-in, I think, was four also. And
okay.
then one of the ones that I led that was the most random people I didn't know, that one started with eight and ended with eight. So
Oh, okay. Was
um,
that the Sunday night one with?
no, that was my Wednesdays at 6. Like
Oh,
we
okay.
all that was like one that wasn't not a lot of people there for the kickoff meeting because they were doing it, for remotely. But that was one that had someone from Bali, New York,
That
Denver.
one,
Uh,
yeah,
So actually, like, it gives me hope that the one that had the least number of people I knew previously
yeah.
in the most remote locations was actually the one that stuck
That,
together.
yeah.
But there was definitely something about momentum with that, right? Like
Hmm.
once one person dropped, then it sort of felt okay for other people to drop, and um, that whole story. So I hear that for sure. That some of the cohorts that lost people right at the beginning, like more felt better for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's the thing I was curious about was like, what would it be like to be someone who entered the class without knowing, anyone in the class, and would that really alter my experience of taking it? And I think just Saturday night, I talked to a couple people, and they said that they didn't know anyone, and they really felt bonded to everyone right away and stuff. So um, yeah, it's a really interesting experiment. you know but it's I just feel like it's such a valuable thing to offer, the community and just people out there who are struggling, and just a great concept overall. I felt like ours was small, like we generally had like 2 or 3 people each week.
Hmm.
So I mean, I still felt like we had quality time together, but it was, it didn't feel like that high energy. You know what I mean? If you have more people saying a lot of things, and
Yep.
I think that might have been, felt more like tour de force, more
Yep.
forceful or whatever. So
Yep.
it's not exactly a complaint, but it's just, I think it would have been a different, experience with momentum and stuff.
No, I think that's totally right. I mean, the hard thing is like I think that 6 to 8 is the perfect number. Like I wouldn't have wanted more than eight in any cohort because then those check-ins take a long time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's like this thing of
If not everyone
right,
comes.
do you start with more people? Like eight is the perfect number, assuming
Mm.
everyone shows up. Um, but if half of them don't, then you're down at 4. And I feel like 4 is okay once or twice, but not every week. It's like you want it more in the 6 to 8 range. So I don't know how you.
I think for most of the time we're like 2 or 3, like 3 usually, you know.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like it was more than that most of the time. So
Yeah, that's tough. That's not like the exciting number for sure. And then that's like momentum. Like then you show up and there's only 3 people there, and then you're like, I won't show up next week. Like no one else is. So
yeah. I think what also makes people not show up is like when they said they would do something and they feel embarrassed because they said they would and they weren't ready to. So I think a couple people didn't show up for that reason, like a couple weeks.
Yep. No, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't know how you guard against that kind of stuff. Like when people aren't doing the thing they said they want to be held accountable for. How do
Well,
you?
you know how you were saying, well, yeah, and obviously when you're in school, you have units and you have to pass a class in order to, you know, graduate. That's like, sadly, a reason why people push through sometimes, you know. But if there was some kind of incentive, if it was incentivized to where like, you know, if you attended X many, you know, sessions and I think incentivization would help.
Yeah.
Also, you know how you're saying in the beginning about like having the price be such that you have to be committed in order to sign up.
Yeah.
I honestly think that might be a huge impetus to, you know, so
Good
between
point.
that, you know, and incentivization.
A lot of the people that dropped were the people that I was like, yeah, just do the program, don't worry about paying, whatever. And then, you know,
And they're like,
they fall out. If people were paying $500 or $350, they'd probably be a lot less likely to just not
like,
show up.
Yeah, no, I think that's sadly, you know, a thing.
Right. No, that's a good point right there. And then overall, from my opinion, it felt like the first weeks came on super hot and heavy. We had so much to say. We were trying to jam so much into it. It was a little overwhelming for people. Yeah. And then we just we faded pretty spectacularly there in the middle in terms of, you know, like because we wanted to do office hours and trail mix, and we had all these ideas for what could come in the middle. We just didn't have time or capacity to execute on them. So, you know, for me, moving into a next one, there's 2 ideas. Basically, one is doing a 2-day session where a weekend where you get those full first weeks of worksheets all jammed into a weekend. So you would do all the visualization and the road mapping and the you know, the smart evaluations and all that stuff, and pick your project over like a 2-day thing. And then the second is obviously, you know, giving 3 weeks instead of 2 weeks to that first piece. And then, you know, I feel like our next bit of effort has to be around the middle section, because the end felt good once we'd gotten through the middle section, but I feel like we could have done more to help people along in the middle, you know, with sort of daily worksheets and office hours and inspirational articles and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. There's definitely a lull in the middle, and maybe like something where somebody reaches out via phone where you can actually talk to somebody and check in like on progress. Because a couple of companies I designed stuff for, they had an advisor, like people would be assigned to a certain advisor who would call them on a weekly basis. And I don't know if that's too much work, but that was sort of a thing, you know.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, another thing that I've heard from people is how much they would have liked the one-on-one accountability, like one person to check in with that they could have called, that they could have texted, that, you know, I don't have enough to present to my whole, you know, that I want to email the whole cohort, but I want to tell somebody about this win, this victory, whatever that is.
Yeah, I think we should put that back in. Remember we were talking about that?
Yeah.
Your partner.
Yep.
Yeah, and then let that person can also report, you know, at the check-in and let everyone know, you know, what's going on and stuff.
Yep.
I think it's easier to check in with one person, especially if you're behind or, you know, versus like admitting to the whole class, you know.
Totally. No, I think that's definitely right. So yeah, and then we have an idea for the sort of the lull in the middle. We're trying to design hopefully, I mean, we would like to do it in a perfect world. I don't know how realistically what it'll be, but sort of a daily check-in journal that we could give as part of the program, where you have like something physical that you check in with in the morning, and
Yeah.
you actually write down what you've accomplished, and you're using it for your project. So it's your to-do list, and it's your to-done list, and it's your gratitude list, and it goes in a sequential order. So every day you open to the next
Oh, that's
page, and it's
great.
got the next
Yeah.
thing to do. So it's not being bombarded with emails, but it's still like a check-in point. And then at the end of the week, it's got your weekly check-in right there that you can fill it out before your accountability meeting and that sort of thing.
Totally. That'd be great. Yeah. I mean, also, I think I said this last time, but just having that like initial course syllabus that has, what's going to happen every week.
Mm,
Because I tried to find it later on, but I couldn't find it. So,
yeah,
um,
no, I think that's right.
doing that. But for a first run, I think it was really great.
Yeah, I feel really good about what happened. I mean, just seeing all the projects that were actually, the stuff that was created that wasn't there 10 weeks ago, there's a lot of
Yeah.
it. And it feels so clear that there's, a massive market for this, B, like a real need, like B, it was, for the people it worked for, I feel like it really worked for. And then, just the work that came out of it was super inspiring. So, I mean, I definitely feel like more is in order. It doesn't feel like, well, that was an interesting idea. Let's move on. I mean,
No, yeah. I feel like there's definitely a huge demand for this. It's just whether or not they're gonna be able to afford a program. Like just the average freelancer might just be struggling a lot and not be able to do this.
yep.
But you know, I
Yeah,
think
and that's,
the varying levels of membership thing is really good. Some people said that they just want to have only the accountability, you know what I mean, after like the first course or something. And
yep,
I kind of feel like that too. Like if, I don't necessarily feel like I'd have to take the class all the time, but it'd be nice to have the option where you can stay member of the community and just check in and have the accountability aspects. So
yep,
that might be a good level of
yep. No, I think
membership.
that's definitely what we've talked about in the sort of basic membership realm, is that you just get the weekly check-ins, and then whatever, kind of community events are going on and office hours and that sort of thing. And that, you really only take the class once.
Yeah, and how you had the podcast in the beginning? I think it'd be nice.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm sure we'll add, you'll add more in later on, but are you thinking about doing the video stuff for the next pilot? Like the video, um, the uploaded videos?
Yeah, I don't know if realistically we get a video curriculum done. Like in my mind, I think that this fall class is basically another MVP with just a little bit
Yeah.
more improvement on the actual course. Right now, that the first
Uh,
few weeks are, we have the emails written and we could space them out more so that it doesn't feel so hot and heavy. But we've got the visualization done and the road mapping exercise. And we have all those exercises done. We could run the course again, focus more on that middle lull, so we really add in some more in there, and then it still isn't really like a public launch necessarily. Like we'd
yeah,
be
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about more of a public launch next year early, and that's where we'd be looking to do the video curriculum as
Okay.
part of that also.
I think that's a good calendar, not rushing too much and
Totally.
gathering as much information as you can before a public launch. So,
Yeah, I mean, we certainly want to do the video curriculum, but it's going to
yeah.
cost money and take time.
Yeah, that's what Justin was saying. I think. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and yeah.
Well, good. That's good news. I mean, if you hated it, we'd be in trouble. Some, you
I
know,
know.
you're like, wow, that was a bummer.
It was a huge bummer.
That
Um,
sucked.
so what did you have anything specific you wanted to ask me
Yeah,
about?
I'm trying to pull up actually my I have like a feedback thing. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I
Okay,
can
sure.
find this Google Doc. Um, um, well, let's see. Where did that go? Sorry, 1 sec. Where? shoot. Sorry, I should have pulled that up. I had it all nicely typed up, and now I don't know where I put it. Um, well, I will. I mean,
If you want to look,
what'd you say?
I can wait a minute if you want to look.
All right, hold on. Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me see if I can
Okay.
find this. Where did that go? Yeah, I don't know where all my notes go,
Send it to
unfortunately.
me if you want an email. Okay.
Yeah, I mean the other thing, well, and I guess less from you. I was going to say the other thing that we want to get is like people's sort of testimonials, right? I'm going to reach out and ask people to do testimonials with that,
Oh, yeah.
which I
Written
think.
testimonial or like a little video or something?
I don't think I'm going to get into videos yet. Just written testimonials. Yeah, just something that we can put on
On
the
the website?
website and in the deck right now. Yeah, exactly. Um, I think will be really helpful. So when we get, but like I think it'll be because we know that we'll have your sort of in the on the design development side, so we won't want to put you in the feedback testimonial
Yeah,
piece also.
that's true, yeah.
Um, but let me see here. I have a couple of these questions. Let me see real. Um,
I mean, another thing we could do is like, like a midterm style, have, like more presentations in the middle or like a third the way through and two-thirds the way through that are more presentation oriented. So you'd have like,
oh, interesting.
be forced to have something to present that's more formal, than just like a check-in, because that way,
Yeah, we
you
talked about that also. Like, and maybe it could rotate if that's a longer check-in. Then maybe two people could do it a week or something like
oh
that.
yeah, yeah.
Um, let's see. I found. Um, some of these notes. I'm just reading through it. Um, oh yeah, I guess that was I mean, the other place that didn't feel as strong as it could be, and I think related to momentum as well, was the platform itself. Like,
Oh yeah.
um, I feel like there was some momentum at the beginning, um, and then it sort of faded a little bit. And I think that had to do with momentum. Once only two people or three people from a cohort, posted in
Yeah.
a particular assignment, then it felt less like, well, if no one's doing it, I'm not going to do it, kind of thing.
Yeah. Right.
Um, and I guess I'm wondering, like, would it have felt weird? Obviously, having the tighter cohort for the sort of safety of checking in each week, I thought was nice. But like, would it have felt weird at all to you to be presenting your goals or your road mapping exercise or any of those initial exercises to a wider community? Like,
To the
if they
older
had
group.
been, yeah, exactly, if they've been posted in like a main group board so that you could have seen other people's and have
Yeah, I
presented
think if we
yours.
did that, from the beginning, because I think you opened it up later on, right?
Yeah, it was just sort of an afterthought, though.
Yeah. I think by then we kind of just felt like we'd gotten used to our, sharing with our cohorts. Because
Totally.
I remember when you opened it up, I was like, oh, cool. But then I was already kind of in the habit of, you know, not sharing that much with a larger
Yeah,
group. But
totally.
I think that might help to have that set up from the beginning. And, because like I remember in the beginning thinking like I wanted a lot more interaction.
Totally. Totally. Um, I think that's yeah. I think that's a great question mark. Um, of how we like push into that interaction. I mean, otherwise the platform felt okay.
Yeah, it was okay. I think it felt much more technically complicated than it was, you know?
Yeah,
Like at first, I think it didn't feel, it was easy to navigate, but it just seemed like there was so much there. I don't
yeah,
know, it's hard to explain. It didn't feel simple, you know? Um, but yeah, it was okay, I
that's a good
think.
way to put it. It felt more complicated than it really was.
Yeah, just I feel like it all we really needed was, like somewhere to post and get assignments.
Yeah,
But the way it was presented looked like a lot more complicated somehow.
totally. Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. We're looking into maybe Slack as maybe a possible alternative to it.
Yeah, I think I should explore different ones.
Totally. Well, cool. Well, thanks for the feedback. I appreciate it. I'm gonna try to collect everything I can this week, and then I'm gonna try to sit down to synthesize. Synthesize.
Synthesize. Yeah, I mean, if you go through and synthesize and you notice certain things in particular, just email me and then I can start thinking about it. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we'll do. All right, sweet. Well, thanks for
Okay.
being such a great part of this, and I
Yeah.
appreciate you seeing it all the way
I
through to
know.
the end. And yeah, it was really great.
Yeah. Cool. It's
Appreciate
great
it.
to work with you.
Absolutely. More
So
to come.
enjoy your trip and so you come
Yeah.
back in September time,
Yeah,
mid-September.
September. Then I go do a job. September 12th and 13th, 14th. I think I'm back on the 14th, maybe something like that.
Oh, sounds good.
Yeah. So we'll link up
Yay.
soon.
Awesome.
Cool.
Okay.
Thanks,
Bye.
Elizabeth.
Thanks.
Bye.